People planning to visit the mainland line up for COVID-19 PCR tests. Mainland authorities say 85% of Guangzhou's population have been infected with COVID. And in the Philippines, Nobel Peace Laureate Ressa and her news site acquitted of tax evasion charges. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. Long queues formed outside community testing centres across the city as the Lunar New Year is just around the corner. People planning to visit the mainland during the holidays are required to take a PCR test within 48 hours prior to their departure. Some lawmakers and health experts have suggested that PCR tests be replaced with rapid antigen tests. Christy Khan reports.
Around 200 people will line up outside this community testing center in Samshui-po to do their PCR tests this morning. Some were there awaiting their test reports in paper format. The testing center had put up a notice telling people that the testing service is only available to those who have made a booking. Some said they still had to wait for around 2 hours even though they had booked a slot. Like this man. He said he's angry about the arrangement. He arrived there at 9 in the morning and had spent around 2 hours in the line. The online booking system shows some testing centers in Shatin, Kuntong and Mongkok are fully booked in the coming 2 days. One of the operators of the community testing centers said they have already stepped up manpower to meet the surge in service demand. Also, the operator ensured that the testing centers have yet to reach their full capacity. Meanwhile, legislators have called on the government to further relax the testing arrangement for cross-border travelers.
Recently, we have received a lot of complaints or cases that it is very difficult to find PCR tests in mainland China because the fact that it is the CNY, the Chinese New Year period right now. So we believe that it is better to use quick test or rapid test.
Respiratory disease specialist Lun Chi-chiu said the pandemic situations on the mainland and in Hong Kong have peaked. And it will be more convenient for people traveling between Hong Kong and the mainland if the PCR testing arrangement can be replaced by rapid antigen tests. Speaking in response after attending today's anti-chamber meeting with lawmakers, Deputy Financial Secretary Michael Wong said the city's health bureau and the mainland authorities will keep closely monitoring the situation. Christy Khan, TVB News.
The Education Bureau said officials are striving for cross-border students to resume face-to-face teaching in Hong Kong on the first day of February at the earliest. The government said earlier that cross-border students do not need to apply for quotas when they come to Hong Kong. At a luncheon, Secretary for Education Choi Uk-lin said about 21,000 people were involved, with 7,500 secondary students and 13,000 primary school and kindergarten students. Authorities hoped these students can use rapid antigen tests instead of nucleic acid tests when they cross the border, but a final decision has yet to be made. The city's number of new COVID infections today continued to fall for the 12th straight day, dipping to around 3,000 cases. Among the 3,843 newly reported cases, 109 are imported. Infections emerged in 15 care homes for the elderly and the disabled. Nearly 320 schools reported positive cases. 56 more patients died, bringing the city's death toll in this pandemic wave to 12,752. China's homegrown COVID antiviral drug, Evasion, has officially been included in the mainland's prescription drug list. Meanwhile, Guangzhou said its pandemic situation has entered its final stages, with over 85% of the city's population having been infected. The National Healthcare Security Administration announced today the homegrown antiviral drug Evasion will be included in the prescription drug list, priced at 11.58 yuan. The move would enable residents to buy the medicine at a much lower cost. This also comes as the public demand for COVID pills went up drastically. Meanwhile, COVID infections have peaked in many provinces on the mainland. Guangzhou, home to 18 million permanent residents, said the number of patients at emergency wards has returned to normal. concluding that the pandemic has entered its final stages. Experts say for those who have never been infected over the past 3 years must step up personal hygiene. The new list of members forming the 14th Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference National Committee is out. Hong Kong's first chief executive, Tong Chee-hwa, will step down from his role as the body's vice chairman, while former city leader Carrie Lam does not make the list. Jackie Lin reports.
Among some 2,100 members on the list for the 14th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, 124 are specially invited figures from Hong Kong. Some Hong Kongers also secured seats in other sectors at China's top political advisory body. Vice Chairman of the CPPCC, former Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying, stays on the list, while another Vice Chairman, Tong Chee-hwa, the first Chief Executive of Hong Kong, will bow out. Several former principal officials made the list. They include former Secretary for Home Affairs Lau Kong-wah and ex-Deputy Police Commissioner Alan Lau Ip-shing. Some newly minted CPPCC members from Hong Kong's business sector too. They are Adrian Zhang, Chief Executive Officer of New World Development, Pansy Ho, Managing Director of Shuntech Holdings, and Adam Kwok, Executive Director of Sun Hung Kai. There are deputies of the National People's Congress who switch to take on CPPCC roles. They include pro-establishment heavyweight lawmaker Martin Liao, entrepreneurs Wang Ting-chung and Pauline Ngan Po-ling. Also appointed a delegate is actor Donnie Yen, marking the third actor from Hong Kong in the body after Lisa Wang and Jackie Chan. 8 of the 18 current Hong Kong members of the CPPCC Standing Committee remain in office. They include West Kowloon Cultural District Authority Chairperson Henry Tang, former Director General of the World Health Organization Margaret Chan, Victor Lee, Chairman of CK Hutchison Holdings, and Peter Lam, who chairs the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. Wang Huning, who is now a member of the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China Central Committee, is the only one from the top decision-making body named on the new CPPCC list. That means he has a chance to take over the presidency after incumbent Wang Yang. The first session of the new CPPCC National Committee will begin on the 4th of March in Beijing. That's when the chair and vice chairpersons will be elected. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
In the Philippines, Nobel laureate Maria Ressa and her news site Rappler have been acquitted by a court of tax evasion charges. Media watchdogs and human rights groups hailed the court decision as a win for press freedom and rule of law in the country. Tracy Furness has more.
Ressa has been fighting a string of government lawsuits since 2018, which she describes as part of a pattern of harassment. But today was a victory.
Today, facts win. Truth wins. Justice wins. These charges, as you know, were politically motivated. They were incredible to us. A brazen abuse of power and meant to stop journalists from doing their jobs.
The Court of Tax Appeals ruled that prosecutors failed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Ressa and Rappler Holdings Corporation evaded tax payments in 4 instances after raising capital through foreign investors. Rappler was founded in 2012. It was one of several news agencies that was critical of President Rodrigo Duterte's crackdown on illegal drugs that left thousands of mostly petty drug suspects dead. Duterte ruled for 6 years in the Philippines before Ferdinand Marcos Jr. came to power in June 2022. Ressa won the Nobel Peace Prize alongside a Russian journalist in 2021 for fighting for the survival of their news organizations, defying government efforts to close them down. Ressa is currently on bail as she appeals a 6-year prison sentence handed down in 2020 for a libel conviction. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
18 people, including Ukraine's interior minister, other senior ministry officials and 3 children, were killed this morning when a helicopter crashed near a nursery outside the country's capital, Kiev. The helicopter came down close to a nursery and a residential building in Brovary, northeast of Kiev. The regional governor said 29 people were also hurt, including 15 children. The national police chief said Interior Minister Denis Monastyrsky was among the dead. His first deputy, Yevgeny Yenin, and the ministry's state secretary also died. There is no immediate explanation for the helicopter crash. Russia's newest nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine is on its way to a temporary base for the Northern Fleet in the Arctic. TSS news agency reported the Generalissimo Suvorov had moved from Severodonetsk, citing an unidentified defense source. This as the Russian Defense Ministry released footage of two strategic bombers performing patrol flights over the Arctic Sea. The Tu-160 bombers were shown taking off in flight and landing from patrols that lasted 10 hours. The ministry said the flights took place over what it termed neutral waters. No exact location, time or date of the flights was mentioned in the statement. Still ahead on tonight's news. 18 years behind bars and hefty fines for former Sun City Group chairman Alvin Chow. The first international cruise ship to visit Hong Kong in 3 years. And more guided tours and promotional packages to attract visitors to the West Kowloon Cultural District. Welcome back to TVB News. In Macau, former chairman of Sun City Group Alvin Chow was today sentenced to 18 years behind bars. He was found guilty of 162 counts of fraud and operating illegal gambling. Chow and 6 other defendants must also pay fines of around 8.7 billion Hong Kong dollars to the government and gambling businesses in Macau.
All eyes were on one of the most high-profile gambling criminal cases in Macau, the sentencing of former top gambling boss Alvin Chow, which took place at the Court of First Instance. The 48-year-old spent 30 years making his name in the gambling and entertainment business in Macau. He was taken to the court to face a total of 289 charges. The court heard that between 2013 and 2021, Chow and 20 mid to senior level staff members of the Sun City Group used the so-called under-the-table bets to cover up the gains of the VIP gaming rooms worth more than $800 billion. That stripped away tax revenues worth more than $8 billion from the Macau authorities and resulted in losses among gambling operators in the enclave. During sentencing, the judge noted the police had gathered evidence through the group's server and phone surveillance. Teaching materials on how to do under-the-table betting were found in Chow's computer under the codename Operation Flow, meaning he knew very well it's illegal. Several accountants working for the group were also part of the illegal act. The court ruled that Chow obviously knew what he was doing in order to earn money from it. Alvin Chow was convicted of 162 charges. He was sentenced to 12 years behind bars in relation to his triad-related charges. Jail terms for another 100 counts of operating illegal gambling range from 1 year to 2.6 years. Then, 5 years of imprisonment for each count of fraud and 3 years for fraud attempts. Chow and 6 other defendants must also return the $6.5 billion worth of tax revenues to the government and another $2 billion worth of losses to 5 gambling operators. Following sentencing, Chow's family did not take questions from the press. Meanwhile, Alvin Chow is involved in the illegal opening of casinos on the mainland, an offence that is liable to 10 years in jail. Whether he will be extradited to the mainland will depend on the mutual agreement between the two sides. For now, he will likely be arrested if he enters the mainland after serving his jail time in Macau.
After a 3-year hiatus, the first international cruise ship, the Silver Spirit, arrived in Hong Kong today. Authorities said it shows the city is still an attractive destination for cruise tourism in Asia, adding more liners are due to dock in the city over the coming months. Memo Singai has more.
This massive vessel is the Silver Spirit. It docked at Ocean Terminal in Tsim Sha Tsui at around 8 a.m. this morning, with 320 passengers from more than 20 countries. The voyage began in Singapore earlier this month and stopped in Thailand and Vietnam before reaching Hong Kong. The ship will begin its return journey to Singapore tomorrow. The Hong Kong Tourism Board and authorities not only welcomed the tourists with traditional Chinese dragon and lion dances, but also gifted passengers with souvenir goodie bags during a welcoming ceremony. Some tourists said they had no concerns about the city's COVID restrictions, saying they were looking forward to spending their time here.
We're delighted to be here. We're not worried about the COVID restrictions. We're happy it's open so that we can finally get in, and we're looking forward to seeing everything.
The managing director of cruise line Silver Sea, Adam Radvansky, described Hong Kong as a vibrant and beautiful city, hoping it can help the company lure more tourists.
We believe, and I'm sure all our guests will agree with this, that cruising in Asia without Hong Kong is no good. Hong Kong is such an iconic destination. You have one of the most beautiful harbors in the world. You guys here have a lot to offer. It's a vibrant city. It's also, in a way, at the moment, gateway to China, to the Bay Area. It has amazing culture. It has amazing food.
Meanwhile, Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Kevin Yearn said the return of cruise passengers is a significant milestone as the city recovers from the pandemic.
Cruise passengers are required to put on masks when they are on board, except when they are dining and exercising. Many visit Hong Kong's tourist attractions, such as the West Kowloon Cultural District. Mimosa Nai, TVB News.
As travel between Hong Kong and the mainland resumes, the West Kowloon Cultural District has prepared more guided tours, promotional packages and shuttle bus services for tourists. CEO Betty Fung said such efforts began as early as 4 months ago. They include collaboration with travel agencies for selling guided tours at the Arts and Cultural Hub at a discount. Fung expects 550 guided tours could be organised every month at both M+ Museum and the Hong Kong Palace Museum in the first phase. The district has also optimised its dining services and transport arrangements. Free shuttle bus services are now available, running between the West Kowloon terminus of the high-speed rail and the museums in the district. A total of 3.1 million visitors have been recorded at M+ Museum and the Hong Kong Palace Museum since their openings. Hong Kong Customs have busted a money laundering syndicate and its operations centre at a residential flat. Officers said this was their biggest bust ever, involving about $6 billion. Customs officers carried out an operation on January 5th and arrested 9 people aged between 39 and 68 on suspicion of money laundering. They also raided 10 residential premises, 8 companies and a licensed money changer and seized about $3.9 million in cash, along with items including company chops and checkbooks. Customs said the syndicate had opened numerous personal and company bank accounts in different banks to launder around $6 billion via at least 7,600 transactions between 2020 and 2022. The 9 arrested have been released on bail. Customs said further arrests are pending. And that is the news. Thanks for joining us.